in Papua New Guinea. Just to get you to see where and what I will be talking about. Sorry, the map is squeezed a little bit, but you have on the map there Papua New Guinea, and down is Bougainville, sharing the border with Solomon Islands. And I will be focusing on Tulun Islands, which is Carteret, and where the presentation is based. Going into Carteret Island now, this is the atoll where I am, and where on the map you see there are about 6 dots there, which represents those are the islands that I'm talking about, that I will be talking about in this presentation. You have 2 islands together, and you would have on the coral reef about 5 other dots. I can't go zoom in to see the actual islands there, but those dots represents the islands that are experiencing the changes in weather patterns and what we have been talking about when we talked about climate change issues. The history of the island inhabitants, I will be talking about colonial history and name. I was going to talk a little bit about World War II significance, but I won't go into that. PNG and Bougainville relocation process, crisis situation and effect on the island. I will take you through to some post-crisis issues, and then go into climate change and some experiences that we have been facing. Colonial history and name. The Carteret Island was discovered by a French navigator named Philip Carteret in 1786, and he named the island after himself. The local inhabitants at that time were the Mothman Islanders. They are Polynesians who were the first inhabitants of those islands. And through 3 attempts to conquer the island, the people of Halia, who are Bookends, they fought with the Polynesians and claimed ownership of the island. They married the women and kept only the darker-skinned babies, and they renamed the island Tulun, which you see, which you already saw on the map. And from that time on, the Melanesian population grew. This is what you see now of those islands, and this is part of Han Island, which is one of the atolls in the Carteret Island. On the island you see coastal erosion due to sea level rise. You see stumps of coconut trees, which is the livelihood of the people depend on coconuts at this time. And as you see, soil erosion has taken most of that land. In this slide, you see the family transporting what they have on the island. You can, from the slide, see that there's a basket there with coconuts. In the canoe, you would see some breadfruit. And on the outrigger, you see it's a part of the coconut trees people use for firewood. And they use, apart from those, leaves and even the trunk, if they really run sort of firewood. Well, in that slide 2, you can see people use canoes which are environmentally friendly. It doesn't use petrol or fuel to pollute the sea. And it has been one form of transport for the islanders for so many years. I didn't put in that slide that they use sails when the wind comes when we have northeasterly winds or southeasterly winds, east-westerly winds, they use sails to sail across to other islands which are apart from each other. But canoe has been the main form of transport ever since. And from the slide, as you see, I used to transport people to and fro to those islands and to transport from the little gardens that they have onto the villages. BNG at Bougainville Resettlement attempt started in 1984, as we are looking at a case study of what our governments and our people have done to address the issues that are affecting our islands today. In 1984, the government came up with a resettlement program. It was basically initiated due to high population increase and food shortages at that time. And families, about 10 families were moved to mainland Bougainville, as you saw on the map. And those families were able to make some gardens, but not really involved in income generating activities. This program was ceased due to civil unrest which happened or occurred on Bougainville for the last 10 years, especially basically from 1988 to 1998, which is about 10 years. And those 10 families returned to Carteret Island, returned home in fear of safety. And from that program, it was not monitored or evaluated for lessons learned and for improvement for future. Population increase and impacts. Population increase had greater pressure on the land, in fact tripled the burden on the island and the people. And we have had severe soil erosion, as you saw from the slide. And by 1984, the island was divided in half, and the gap is still increasing each year, as you will see in the next slide. Destruction of saltwater intrusion killed off staple food crop that was growing on the island, giant swamp food, ongoing family feuds over very small portions of land for food crop growing, and then people became heavily reliant on fish and coconut as the only means of survival. And education and health services were closed on the island from 88 to 98. Other social issues like homebrew, illicit drugs like marijuana became young people's answer to lack of initiatives. And the young people became very innovative, but for the wrong reasons. So this is part of the island that was talking about earlier, was separated, washed away by sea. By 1984, it was already divided into half, and now it's gone into quarter. Some post-crisis events. The relocation of the people on Carteret became extremely urgent because of severe soil erosion, the loss of food security issue for future generations, and the urgent call on the Bougainville leaders and the decision makers to take the lead with regards to climate change. In 2001, the elders and the chiefs approached the Bougainville government and its administration to identify land on mainland Bougainville for the relocation program, but no action by those concerned, the administration, especially the Bougainville leaders. However, the government tried to respond by undertaking to supply food rations every quarter, and in fact only supports once or twice each year. And by 2007, the Bougainville government tried to develop a policy on the adult resettlement program, but no implementation plan to support the policy. And in 2007, the government of PNG released some 2 million kina in our currency for the relocation program for the Carteret Islanders, but funds were not mobilized with transparency. Here is another slide, just to give you a glimpse on how the sea is affecting the shoreline and the islands. So that signifies sea level rise and soil erosion, sea level rising and destroying food gardens. And as you see on the slide, that it's a normal time of the year, and the sea level is just flowing in to the island. And most of the islands are experiencing the same. Some current developments. In 2006, the Carteret Council of Elders, they revisited their thoughts and initiated a local organization called Tulele Pesa to carry the thinking forward regarding the program of relocating them to mainland Bougainville. This saw the birth of the organization in August 2006, and Tulele Pesa became registered under the Internal Promotion Authority of Papua New Guinea in September 2007 as the Carteret Relocation Program. And Tulele Pesa, in our local vernacular, means sailing the waves on our own after having gone through governments and administrators that have not been very positive in taking the lead. This organization came up and they were like on their own. So the name came up, sailing the waves on our own. And because of that, the Tulele Pesa looked to the church for assistance. So negotiations for land with the Catholic Church started in 2007. Who happened to have some, at least enough land. Whereas the government at the moment doesn't seem to have enough land to resettle the about 3,000 plus people on the islands. Here we would see youth leaders engaged in the awareness program on relocation by 2006. Our young people were engaged in advocating for climate change, basically telling them about sea level rise and the effects on the island, and trying to convince families to move to higher grounds. So that was basically what they were doing, and collecting statistics on how many families were willing to move and how many were not ready at that time. So the picture there, the slide there, youth groups organizing and discussing and doing awareness on that. Climate change and some experiences, and like I said, the government of Bougainville, autonomous government of Bougainville, had a resettlement plan. In that plan, it talks about, they had a plan regarding the policy which was in place at the time. So in 2007, in response to the 2 million kina given by the PNG government, they came up with a resettlement plan. And like I said, there was no implementation plan to support that plan. In that policy, the components are that the government is to do resettlement for the islanders and to have in place a disaster management plan in case of king tides, coastal erosion, and food security. And as I said, not much of that is evident today. And in that policy too, it has something to do with ongoing support. And like I said, the support is supposed to be quarterly, but it's once or twice each year. And so the relocation plans by the Diocese of Bougainville, Diocese of Bougainville now partners with Inhabitants, looking at relocating of the island people to 4 of its rundown plantations. The plantations are Tilputs in our region, Cherokee, Marbury, and Chiba for relocation programs. These are sites that were negotiated by Inhabitants with the diocese in order to help relocate the islanders. Secondly, the TP has liaised, the church has liaised with Inhabitants on this to engage young people on speaking tours right around Bougainville to complement the relocation program that is taking place. So youths have done that so far. They have had youth tours, speaking tours throughout villages, communities, and even parishes to educate people on basically the effects of climate change and what is happening, and to prepare them. If the islanders are resettled to higher grounds, then they make them welcome and give them a place to stay. So that is where the young people have been engaged, and they have helped by advocating climate change in areas that are remote and in parishes where people don't have really access to what is happening right around the world. So the church, in fact, has helped and conducted specialized training skills on balanced life for people, personal integration programs, and post-traumatic training for islanders relocated in basically Tilputs, where the relocation program has started. The church has also tried to help by setting up a Carteret Victim Day Fund collection to support the relocation program in Tilputs. And it has also housed Inhabitants for 1.5 years in its premises in Tilputs, while the organization is building its own coordinating center. The Carteret's integrated relocation program had seen social mapping and survey done already in 2007 to 2009. And we have set up a Carteret's task force committee to coordinate between those that are relocated and those yet to be relocated. And it looks at coordinating of international media groups, information sharing on impacts of climate change. And Inhabitants as an organization has confirmed as a face and a voice for the people of Carteret at international, national, and local level. And researching cultural aspects of islanders and documenting for future. Inhabitants as a local NGO has gone also into development of raised bed gardening. It's the name there, Sup is really like a top pitching word, but it's something to do with raising a bed to make gardens to support the islanders from food shortages. So far we have had 5 fathers of families from the Carteret to Tilputs already to prepare houses and gardens for the relocated families. Here is now the relocation site, which is Tilputs. We have done community resource mapping, regular community meetings and consultations with villages and even the parish as a whole. We've had cheap and youth exchanges between the islanders and Tilputs where the relocation is taking place. And as I said earlier, young people from the host community, which is Tilputs and Carteret, engaged in youth speaking tours advocating for climate change on the islands and throughout Bougainville. And also doing some infrastructure development and construction of local transit homes. In fact, we have 2 semi-permanent houses and 8 more to be constructed for the relocated families. At the moment on the relocation site, we have had rehabilitation of 12 hectares of cocoa and coconut plantations. 12 more hectares yet to be rehabilitated. And those already relocated, we have about 8 families going into intercropping and diversification of food crops. Poultry project, piggery project yet to be developed, and families from Carteret to join with their fathers in the foods. Here is Temple's relocation site. By 2009, you would see already two basically local built out of local materials. 2 are complete, 2 complete, 95% complete, and 1 is, but that was in 2009.